Morning and welcome to another episode from the lakes.
Yeah, Wildlanders off-grid, Wildlanders at the lake today. And
in today's episode we're going to update you on our previous video of a couple of weeks ago, which was our worst week ever off-grid.
Yep.
So we've had a slightly better week, haven't we?
Yes, it's been alright.
So we've got a visa update for you at the end of the video, and we've had incredible heat wave, as I know many of you have had all around the world. So we've been in the low to mid 40s here, so it's been very hot, isn't it?
Crazy hot.
So we're going to show you how we keep the pets cool and what we do to chill them down. And also I had a belated Father's Day, so I got a great present from Rosie. So I'm going to show you what that is later.
That's very exciting.
It's very cute.
There's a kitten update. The kitten has a name.
We had some great suggestions as well, so thanks for all of those. And at the beginning of the video, I've finally started my cabin build.
Hooray! Which
again, a couple of months ago, showed you our plans for the cabin. And now we've actually started getting the foundation in. So I'll show you where I've got with that. So enjoy tonight's episode. In July 2021, with the increase in travel restrictions caused by Brexit and the pandemic, we decided to buy off-grid land in Portugal to live a more sustainable lifestyle.
Follow along with our journey as we turn our beautiful but derelict land into our very own slice of off-grid heaven. Wildlands.
So you'll also remember from previous videos that we showed you our plans by drone of our new cabin build, which is a separate toilet room, a separate bathroom with a proper shower, and a third room which we're calling the pantry. The pantry we're going to use for general storage, but food storage, and space for a large fridge and maybe 1 or 2 freezers, which will go in at a much later date, as we're too skint at the moment to get everything that we need or want, so we're doing it piecemeal, little by little. So you can see behind me, we've now started the cabin build, and we've got the front posts in, or stilts, as the cabin is raised off the ground. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of how I see the cabin looking, and you can try and visualize how it's going to end up. So you'll see at the front there's 5 parts of telegraph poles that have been cut up and sunk into the ground, and that will be replicated at the back, which is off the ground, because the front section here is a higher terrace, and you can see where the IBCs are at the back. It's much lower, and that's so that when the cabin is finished, the IBCs and all the toilet facilities in terms of drainage and so on will be hidden inside the back of the cabin. So we've got these telegraph poles, which are roughly 2 to 2.5 foot raising the cabin off the ground, and then here you've got one of the front supports, and the idea is that the posts are in concrete, which has been placed inside buckets to minimise any cement seeping into the natural environment, which is quite an important thing to us. Also means at a later date, if we had to take the cabin down for any reason, that we could just remove the buckets and there'll be no concrete left in the ground, and that also gives the posts a lot more stability. And then in the middle, where you can see the breeze blocks over there, we're going to make a long kind of little wall which will support all the beams going this way to give the floor extra support. So at the moment we've only got the 5 front posts in, and we've got 1 either side on this level, and 3 in the middle, and another 5 at the back, which will all be posts. And then as well as the posts, we'll be using breeze block supports under the floor that's not there at the moment, to give it extra strength and make sure that the floor is safe and properly supported. And then this section from the front of the cabin, 1.5 meters back, this is going to be a veranda, and the front of the veranda here will have the natural wiggly fencing like I've used on the gate at the top, and then long supports going up to the roof, and the long supports are going to be natural wood, so that we've got a lovely rustic looking veranda at the front. And then we'll have a door here for the toilet, which is going in this room, and then Portuguese double doors here, hopefully if I can find some secondhand, going into the bathroom, which will have a sink and shower with proper plumbed in hot running water. And then the last room at that end, which is a bit bigger than the toilet room, is the pantry. And then somewhere here at the front, I've not decided where, at the height of the finished floor, there'll be an entry pathway or a bridge which will come out and either go somewhere here or over to here. I haven't quite decided yet. So yeah, very excited with the progress so far, and had a lot of help from my friend Paul, who you'll see in some of the clips. And also worth mentioning that I'm going to update you every week or two so you can see my progress, but I'm filming the whole thing separately as well. So when the cabin is finished, I'll do a complete cabin build video as well as a time lapse of the build. So that could be quite interesting, I think, seeing the whole cabin go up from bare ground to completed. So I'm really excited. But obviously, as today's video is also about the heat, you'd be aware, obviously in the UK, there's a lot of you from the UK, but also across most of Europe and parts of America, there is a massive heat wave at the moment. So this time of year should be in the 30s, low 30s, and we're actually in the low to mid 40s. So it means on the cabin build, we're getting up at 5:30, so I can only do 3, maybe 4 hours work a day on the cabin, which I'm a little bit frustrated about, but it's how it is. I mean, really a lot of people who live in Portugal, particularly off-grid people where you're very exposed to the sun, and then really by 11 at the very latest, it's just too hot to work. July, August, September is really a difficult time to do any real work. So I'm just doing little by little, day by day, and then end of September, October, when it's back to sort of a 20-25 degrees, I can work all day and I can really get my work done. So, but I'm pleased that I've made a start. And Paul, who's a qualified builder, which I'm not, he's been showing me a lot of things and giving me a bit of building skill. So thanks again to Paul, who's been really helpful, and it's made a big difference because I was really not looking forward to putting the posts in. Quite a complicated procedure to get them lined up, get them all level, make sure they're supportive and so on, and working out right angles to the end. So that post there is just roughly stacked up, so you can get an idea of the scope of the cabin. So it's 6.5 meters left to right and 4.5 meters front to back. So it's quite a large building, and it's going to make a massive difference to people visiting the Wildlands and also to us, because I'm really looking forward to be able to have a really hot shower in the winter, and to be able to have properly plumbed water and have a sink that isn't the sink in the van. So really chuffed.
Hello, welcome down to the garden. I'm going to take you around, show you some of the plants, tell you about what we've learnt so far with our gardening exploits and all the things that have been going wrong down here. This is my rhubarb. It was my pride and joy in the spring, and now it looks quite pathetic. It's been eaten alive by crickets, and in the spring we got some kind of maggots in the crowns, and the ants got in there as well, and it was all a bit sad. So now it lives under a bucket in the hope that it will repair itself. We have corn. Planted it in a block because it's wind pollinated, so that makes it more likely that the pollen falls from here will land on the corn cobs down here. Except that they've all got their little polleny things out. Half of them have crisped already in the sunshine, and there's only one corn cob, which is down here. One. And his silks have crisped as well. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a good year for corn. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. Maybe the pollen will stick around and won't get too crispy. Maybe not. We're having a bit of a problem with some of our tomatoes as well. First of all, they've got quite crispy leaves. They're just kind of curling in on themselves, trying to conserve their water. But the main problem is that we just weren't prepared for how big and sprawling they were going to get. It's been years since I've grown tomatoes and I just forgot. So we gave them little stakes to help them stay upright. And they're so big and so heavy, especially when they're covered in fruit, that they're all flopping over. And when the fruit touches the ground, like this one, it gets a little sweaty, burnt, horrible patch. And I mean, this one you probably could have eaten most of the tomato except it's fallen off, but some of them are completely unusable. We're giving them to the chickens, so it's no great loss. It's just another lesson learnt. Next year we'll have cages or some method of string support with an overhead structure. At least we're getting lots of toms. One of the things we've been trying in our garden this year, because it's the first year, we've got to test out where things might like to grow, where do they do best. So we've been putting in a little bit here and a little bit there, and the test is definitely working. We're starting to get a feel for what works and what doesn't. So borage, which I love, I thought would do really well over there in the shade, and I hated it and it all died. And I think that's probably because the soil was too shallow over there, too much granite underneath. We've got herbs, a little bit here, a little bit there, some oregano, some hyssop, some lemon balm, but there's lemon balm over there and there's some parsley over there and so on, which is kind of good, mixing it up, because it means that if over there it all crisped and died, then I've got backup over here. But now that we've got a feel for these things, I think that next year we're going to do big swathes of herbs. So there'd be a huge patch of coriander and a huge patch of parsley and so on, which will make it a lot easier for us when we want to come and find some for our dinner. Because the problem we're having at the moment is somebody will come down to grab a quick handful of parsley to chuck in dinner, and they can't find it. They're wandering around the garden going, "Are you parsley? Where's the parsley gone?" and finding all the other herbs instead. So I think big herb patches. The other thing we're learning about is how very important here dappled shade is. So everything that's supposed to be grown in full sunshine, it just can't cope. The sun is just too strong. Lots more trees, lots more tall plants. Sunflowers are fantastic because anything that grows behind them is growing really well, having the benefit of the dappled shade. So that's our main lesson learned, I think. More shade, more trees, more tall flowers. Another lesson learned is the importance of knowing how tall things are going to get and whether they're going to need support. These are our Jerusalem artichokes, or they were. They were standing up nice and tall, and then one by one they all just flopped over. It could be that the ground is just too hard for them to get their roots deep down to hold them upright. So they're all looking a bit sad, really. The ones on the floor, they're still growing. They've turned their tips up to point towards the sunshine, and there will still be little Jerusalem artichokes, which are little tubers that are in the ground. That's the bit that you eat. So we've thought about getting some string and holding them upright and tying the string around there, and maybe tying it to a tree just to hold them up. But we weren't prepared for flopsies, and we're running out of time each day because we can only really work until 11, because at that point it's just too hot and there's direct sunshine. It's coming now, I can feel it. So we've got a limited amount of time, and I spend most of my time in the mornings watering, and Dom's working on his building, so these guys are just going to have to stay there for a bit. Something else that's been happening a lot in the garden that I wasn't expecting is everything keeps bursting into flower. So we've got, this is fennel, bulb fennel. So I've been waiting for the bulbs to fatten up to have them in a salad. And before I could get round to eating them, they've shot into flower, which is lovely for the insects, good for the pollinators. It's already, I can see it's covered in spiders and bugs and all sorts. So I'm going to try and, oh no, you've gone to flower as well. So we'll see if we can eat them. Any kind of things like coriander or anything really is all bursting into flower left, right and centre. So if it's not something that you want the flowers of, that's a bit of a pain, because then it stops making the leaves that you want, like coriander. But we're leaving these things to grow. So I had some radish and they went to flower. So instead of being able to eat the radish, we had the flowers, nice for the bees. And then I'll save the seeds. So it's not all bad.
So in chicken news, as you remember from older videos going back about 3 or 4 weeks, Rosie and Missy were very unwell with a lot of fever, and they're now better, but that coincided with Father's Day, and Rosie was too ill to do anything for Father's Day, so we had a belated Father's Day, and Rosie bought me a lovely chicken, as I've been mentioning. We were talking about our flock, but I really wanted a brown chicken to add to our collection of beautiful lady hens, and she surprised me and went off to the farm shop with Missy and got me Mavis, who's a beautiful brown girl with a really gorgeous set of neck feathers, so I can introduce her to you now as well. So it's very exciting for us, and still finding it difficult to keep up with the eggs because all the girls are so happy. We're getting 5 or 6 eggs a day, way more than I can eat. So as well as eating them myself, I've been giving them to friends, and also sometimes I scramble them up and give them back to the chickens. Sometimes one has 1 or 2 with his dinner. So happy chickens, happy Dom, happy Juan, So yeah, thanks to Rosie for my beautiful Father's Day present. She also cooked me a tapas dinner, which I didn't film, but it was absolutely lovely. So she did mushrooms in a creamy garlic and herby sauce, which was a nice vegan dinner. But we had it with other bits and pieces in the tapas tradition, so that was lovely as well. So thanks very much, Rosie. I had a great day. She painted me a beautiful picture of our sunflowers and put some bamboo in there and a little picture of Mavis at the bottom. So that's gone up on my notice board. Really good artist, Rosie, now. So yeah, that was wonderful. So it's 10:30. It is 40.5 degrees outside. So rather roasty toasty, as I say. So yeah, yesterday got to a high of 41.5, and today is set to be 44, although a lot of places online are saying it could even go up to 50. So this morning, like most days for the last week, we've been setting our alarm for 5:30 in the morning, and then sitting down, a cup of tea, cup of coffee for Missy in the morning, and then starting work at 6 to try and get some stuff done while it's not absolutely roasting. So by 10 or 11 it's just too hot to work outside. So Missy's done a load of watering today, and in the last few days I've been cracking on with the bathroom cabin build, which I'll show you some footage of. Made good progress there, but obviously slightly slower than I'd like because it's so hot and only getting 3 or 4 hours in. So as well as going to the lake, we're going to a different lake to previous videos, so I'll show you what that looks like, and also going to show you how we keep the pets cool, as you know, 40 plus in the shade, it's obviously quite difficult for everybody, us and the pets. So let's get off to the lake, get a swim in. So I'll see you in a minute. So in yet another update from a video that I did when Missy was away, I think, about keeping cool in the heat. So since then, when I thought it was quite hot, we've had a heat wave. So for this time of year in Portugal, should be in the low 30s, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and it's been in the low to mid 40s, so roughly at least 10 degrees hotter than it should be.
Crazy.
And when we arrived last year, we only had really a couple of weeks where it was as hot as it is now, and that was at the end of August. So it's very, very hot.
We're just finishing up the end of a 2-week period. We've got today and 2 more days apparently, of 44.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be 35, and when I saw it was going to be 35, we got really excited. It's going to be cool.
Whereas if it was going to be 35 in England, we would go, oh my God, it's going to be 35. But it does make a big difference, that 10 degrees drop.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we'll be able to work all day long or anything, but it just makes it a bit more bearable because the air's been absolutely humid and hot, so it's been pretty unpleasant, really. So Kitten.
Kitten, yes, she finally has a name. We've decided to call her It's mainly, it's kind of me and Rosie decided on the name between us, and we've gone for Bella Coco, which is a bit of a fancy name for a fancy little kitten. She's got quite a lot of long fur coming, and she's got all beautiful spots like Bengal down her side, and she's got bits of tabby and bits of this, so Bella Coco.
Although I've been calling her Twiglet, haven't I?
Yeah, she gets lots of nicknames.
But all of our pets have got nicknames.
Pickle, she is a cheeky little pickle.
She is a cheeky pickle.
Rosie was a pickle when she was little too.
She was.
We called her Pickle.
And she's settled in very well in her first week, hasn't she?
So amazingly well. It's been 2 weeks now we've had her.
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks.
Her and Leo have become quite good friends and have started playing together in the last couple of days, which she's very pleased about.
So darling. And they sit together when we drive. She knows she comes and sits with the other cats. They all sit on the front seat together and enjoy the aircon. She knows about using the cat box and where all her food is. She's found every single bounceable place in the whole van. She thinks that's great.
Including my head.
Yeah. And she knows it's her safe place. So when she's playing outside, if something spooks her, she runs straight into the van, which is great.
So settled in greatly.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good.
Couldn't have hoped for more.
So how do we keep cool on those really hot days? And more importantly, a lot of people have asked us how we keep our pets cool. So the first thing is because we're in rural Portugal, and the only time we go into town is when we go shopping and the pets are in the van. Then there is no tarmac, so because we don't live in a house, we don't have a tarmac pavement outside. Where we go on days out, there's no tarmac, so the pets don't have to worry about the heat of the tarmac, which is obviously one of the worst things for animals. So Juan, he, as you know, likes swimming or paddling and fishing. So he's literally spent all day from the minute we arrive at the lake to the minute we go in the water.
So that's got to cool down his core temperature because it's all the way up to his belly, and every time we go past him we splash him on his back. And I mean, to me it seems crazy. That's a lot of sunshine going on your head, but he's Spanish. He's got very, very short fur, and he chooses, when he has a choice between sun and shade, he chooses to sit in the sun.
Yeah, he likes to bake himself. Yeah. So he's shown no sign of trauma or any signs of heat exhaustion or anything. He's just been full on paddling all day.
Normal Juan.
Normal Juan, so he's very happy. And then Morph, you've seen again in a previous video, he likes, saying he likes is quite a generous statement, but he likes to have a little swim.
Yeah.
Which again, he's black and his fur is very thick.
Yep.
So again, that helps cool down his core temperature, and then he spends a couple of hours preening in the shade.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that keeps him cool. And Leo?
Leo doesn't like swimming or paddling.
Hates it.
Flatly refuses, does not want to go anywhere near the water. So we respect that. What we do for him, first of all, he chooses to spend all day under the bed, which is really, really well insulated by all the storage we have around it. I did a little experiment yesterday, and we've got a thermometer on the wall in the van, and it was registering 42. I thought, that's too hot for our cats. I hope they're okay. And then I put the thermometer under the bed, just underneath the edge, and within 10 minutes it had gone down to 35. So although it's hot, it's not too hot, and that's where he spends his day.
Where they go and hide out.
Yeah. And then on the drive home, it's a bit hot in the cab, but they have to be in there for safety. So I've taken to wetting a towel, and I wring it out and I drape it over Leo. I thought he was going to hate it, and he was like, oh, that feels great. He
likes that, doesn't he? He kind of reclines.
Yeah, he gets all comfy. So wet towel for Leo, and Pickle sits on the top of it, and Morph doesn't care because he's been swimming. So.
And then of course Twiglet, now Bella Coco.
Yep.
She doesn't swim, but she seems quite happy to have a little paddle, which I think again cools her undercarriage down, gets the core temperature down a bit, but she pretty much has been staying in the shade. But the good news is, for those of you that love animals, is none of our animals have shown any sign of stress. They all seem pretty happy.
Yeah, and for English animals, apart from Juan.
Yep.
And so, Bella, I suppose she's Portuguese, isn't she?
Yeah, she's Portuguese. Juan is Spanish.
And we've shown you the chickens before. They have a little paddling pool. They've got loads of shade. They have loads of lettuce leaves and stuff like that before we go out. And apart from, they hold their beaks open, which is normal for a chicken to release some of the heat. And other than that, they're fine too.
So happy animals.
I think we've been doing all right, haven't we?
I think so.
Coping with the heat.
Yeah, and being considerate to try and keep them as cool as possible.
Yeah. Finding
ways that each one of them likes.
Yeah, going to extremes, because on the drive home sometimes the sun shines on the patch where the cat sits. So I sit there holding a scarf so that it shades, and I'm like this, and then we move and the shade, so I'm holding this scarf. It's very silly.
Yeah.
But they like it. So.
I think we're not the bosses in the van, are we?
They're not pampered at all.
No.
And if you're worried, we've had a few messages, people being worried about us with fires, and we keep an eye. There's a website you can go to, fogos.pt, and it shows you where all the fires are in Portugal and how big they are and how they're being dealt with. So we just keep an eye on that 4 or 5 times a day. We check it just to make sure there's nothing in our area.
Yeah, there's not been too much around us.
No, not this year, touch wood.
I think, yes, was it yesterday there were 500 fires in Portugal, but mostly down the south and along the coast, weren't they?
Yeah.
Where I think the wind conditions were spreading little fires into lots of little fires.
Yeah. And there's some arsonists out at the moment, aren't there?
Lots, yeah.
Which is really just unbelievable. And I heard, I don't know how true it is, it was word of mouth, but I heard that one of the fires was started by somebody welding a gate, and the sparks from the welding set fire to the dry grasses. Which, if it was true, it's really stupid.
Yeah,
isn't
I mean,
it?
no
What a thing
offence
to
to
do.
whoever it was, but they've got to have a small brain, haven't they? Let's do welding outside in
Welding
crunchy
is-
grass on a day that's 45 degrees
Crazy.
and there's a high risk of fire. But
Yeah.
so, visa update. It's been a challenging month on our visa, as you know from the video where we told you all about the visa. And we got some slightly good news, didn't we?
Don't get excited. It's not that good.
No. So the slight good news is the decree that we said wasn't being extended 4 days after it elapsed was extended till the end of this year.
Yeah.
So 6 months basically.
Fabulous.
So that means that anybody who's in Portugal who has a problem with a visa or pending visa or waiting to hear an answer on a visa can stay in Portugal till the end of the year. So that includes us. So that's very good news.
Yep.
The not so good news is we're still in the same position. We've been emailing the Minister of Foreign Affairs about 5 million times now.
We're giving
and
up now.
Get nothing. So we're going to follow the advice of our solicitor and the CEF, which is Border and Immigration here in Portugal. And Missy and Rosie are going to fly back to the UK and reapply in a couple of weeks,
Yep.
which will be very exciting. Not from a financial point of view, as it's a complete waste of money, but needs must.
Yeah, Rosie's excited. That's
So
all
it'd be a super fast visit, wouldn't it?
Yep. But it's the decree being extended. That's the real. It's given us breathing space, so we don't have to panic and rush out the country. We've got time to get our stuff in order. So
Absolutely.
so that's good.
News.
Pretty
Yep.
good. So it's been a good week. We've coped. We've only got 2 more days of heat.
We have.
And then next week is like party time, 35 degrees. Thanks for watching.
So thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, as always, do give us a little subscribe.
Click the like button.
Yeah,
It helps our algorithm.
As I said on the worst video a few weeks back, if you don't like the video, hit the dislike button because that still helps us.
It helps the algorithm.
It helps
Cool,
the
there you go.
algorithm.
Give us a thumbs down.
And I'm just working on Patreon because needs must. So I've started building that up. So let me know if you've got any ideas of any kind of perks you'd like to see on there. Kind of thinking of doing lots of really quick sort of fly on the wall stuff. So no editing on our phones, just little updates there and then live on the spot.
Real life fly on the wall updates. I like that.
Because then you can just get your phone out, do a couple of minutes of whatever's going wrong or right or what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it's whoosh up onto Patreon.
Yeah, we could do it when you let the chickens out in the morning, a little bit of that, and bits around the garden. Juan doing his dancing.
Yep.
Yeah, good idea.
And then quite often I'm a bit close when it comes to getting my video edited for a Sunday. But where possible, I will put the video up as soon as it's uploaded so that people that support us on Patreon can see it early.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Pop some ideas in the comments if you've got any. And once again, thanks very much for watching. It's much appreciated.
We'll be back next week.
Ciao.
Bye.